So the Phoenix Suns have actually at this point traded Campaign away, which I have a love-hate relationship with Campaign. If you see this hat, you know why, if you understand the history of it all. But at the same time, they've also picked up Bol Bol, who to me, most people give more credit than necessary. We're going to talk about that and more right now, man. Listen, if you're new to the channel, it's just P.kidd Talks NBA. Again, name says it all. You know why you came. Let's get into it. Right now, Bol Bol has been picked up by the Phoenix Suns. Now, Bol Bol is an interesting name, because he's one of those individuals who people sit there, they see his size, they see his stature. They also see the fact that he has a decent handle, he can shoot, he can create his own shot, stuff like that. And people have been coming to the conclusion that, hey, if you give him the opportunity to actually just do what he naturally does, and you just, stop trying to relegate him to a particular role that doesn't fit what he actually does, he could be like Chet Holmgren. He could be like Victor Wembanyama. That's what people are saying. I call cap. I call cap, but I'm gonna sit there and preface it with this. Maybe Orlando was not the right place for you to see that. Let me explain. So when it comes to actually developing players and things of that nature, especially developing a young team, you could have too much young talent on a team, which ultimately results in somebody not seeing their full potential. Orlando was kind of a hot spot for that right now. At one point they had Cole Anthony, Markelle Fultz, Jalen Suggs, I believe. They had a lot of young point guards and things on that team, on top of Wendell Carter trying to create his name after being traded from the Bulls for the Vooch trade. You had the Wagner brothers there who were pretty good, right? It was just too young of a team, and everybody trying to really make a name for themselves, because, when you're not in position to win, that's what you do. You just try to showcase your own talent to the best of your ability, so somebody can come see you and pick you up, because that's what people, if you don't think that's what players think of, that's exactly what they think of. I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna show out so people understand that I got game, and I don't have to diminish the market for myself if we're not in a position to win and we don't know what we're doing. And Orlando was kind of that situation. When you look at what OKC has been doing, OKC has been in a very interesting situation, because while they do have a lot of young players, they don't have a lot of young players that have the same level of talent. There's not another SGA on that team. And the people who are, coming along and slowly coming along, they're not SGA, but they don't also do the same thing. Like I just mentioned to you, Orlando has like 3 or 4 people at the same position that kind of do the same thing. You have so much redundancy there. It doesn't always mesh. And you may not have the right coaching staff in there to actually handle it. What does that have to do with Bol Bol now that I've gave you that long explanation? Well, I think he kind of got wrapped up in that. But at the same time, and especially if you've watched the games, I had a chance. I'm not going to sit there and make it seem like I watched every one. But before I made this video, I watched a considerable amount of tape to make sure that I can at least speak on this and hold my own. And I would say this: Bol Bol had flashes of a lot of different moves, a lot of different abilities. Excuse me. He could do a lot on the floor. All of that was gravy, right? I liked what I saw. But I also have to understand that he had chances to get on the floor as a consistent starter, and he didn't. And I don't take that for granted. I don't sit there and I'm not going to always side with a coach, especially when I see that they're not necessarily developing talent the right way. Right now, I'm looking at Billy Donovan for the Chicago Bulls. I'm also looking at Tom Thibodeau for the New York Knicks, and how half the people that they had there, they had a treasure trove of a lot of different players that they never really used until the last minute. And so I look at that, and Bol Bol to me didn't fit that bill. He didn't fit the bill of someone who didn't get a good look. He fit the bill of someone who was in a competitive situation with a bunch of young other players, and he got beat out. That's what it seemed like to me. Now, I could be wrong. Now, if you're a London Magic fan, you all let me know. Help me understand. But it's one of those things where once he was available on the market, I feel like everyone was really hype about that, because they see what someone his size and, size and maybe ability can do. They look at Victor Wembanyama. They look at Chet Holmgren, whom I'm really big on. They say, okay, Bol Bol could do that, though, if you let him do it, this, that, and the other. And so now everyone just rallies behind that, and the hype gets so big. But then I look at it, and I was like, yeah, but when he tried to do it throughout the season, y'all didn't have that same hype, and it didn't look as clean. So tell me what I'm missing. Because he's had opportunities. He had the opportunity to fight for that spot. And at a point, I think he did start a few games. So what happened? Ultimately, what made them move from him? Bol Bol was a nice experiment. I give it to him. But he may not have been the guy that people think of it. So when I look at how this all fits with the Phoenix Suns, I like the move because I think it does give them this person who has this very KD-like frame, the ability to work with one of his mentors and someone who can pretty much show him that game. And one thing I'll never take away from the game of basketball is what a good offseason with the right people can do for a player. So if Bol Bol's, and he's mentioned KD's the player he's looked up to the most. If Bol Bol, with his ability now, can work with KD and he's in the lab locked in all summer, I will take this video back and say that he's overrated. Because I do believe that with consistent work, and I do mean consistent work, and KD has one of the best work ethics in the league to this day. That's what every star has said. KD's workout is insane. If he puts in that level of work, I can sit there seeing him being a great asset for the Phoenix Suns. Absolutely. But I don't think right now in this next season, when they've pretty much gone all in, said skip the second apron. I mean, the way that this whole new CBA has worked out, Phoenix Suns have either found the loophole to avoid it, or they just said, we're just going to spend money until we get it done. Because they do have, and they have made moves to be a very competitive team. But they don't have a point guard, and the moves they are making seem like reaches at times. So the Phoenix Suns, I love them. I absolutely love them. I do have them as a top 3 team in the West. How do you not have them as a top 3 team in the West if you really look at it? But Bol Bol, the hype around him, other pieces they had, a trading campaign. Eric Gordon going there for shooting, I see it, but Eric Gordon is a little older, and maybe it's because of his time in Houston. I ain't really checked for him like that, but I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see them winning as constructed, but I do see them very competitive, and I do see them in the Western Conference Finals. That I'll give them. I do think they have the talent to get to Western Conference Finals just simply because of those 3. Book, KD, and Beal. They almost made it by themselves without Bradley. If you all go back and look, Booker was cooking. His shot chart, man, that thing looked like a green light when you pull that thing up. He barely missed in some games. I'm like, yo, I see them actually going far, but the moves themselves and Bol Bol in himself, I think is a project that they're going to be building with. And so I can see this being something that we talk about, not this season, but the next season, because I don't see how he moves the needle for them. But I want to hear your thoughts, man. Does Bol Bol absolutely move this needle for them? In your opinion, is he gonna come in and show out? What's happening there? Give me your thoughts. I'll leave with this though, because I know we're about 8 minutes in. I'm trying to give y'all some good quality content while we in the building. What's happening with Ayton? Ayton, I think, still has to get moved because Ayton is not going to sit there and he's not going to get the touches he wants. Ayton is a good big man. Ayton is a good big man, and you got to understand the way where he was drafted. He was expecting to come into a team in which he got a good portion of shots, where he actually had a situation in which he was going to get the opportunity to live up to the hype, and he hasn't had that opportunity necessarily to be the focal point of that offense. You have to understand a lot of people who get drafted, especially top 5, top 10 in some of these drafts, for the most part in the league's history, you were walking into teams, and the Phoenix Suns weren't all that great at the time, where you were a main focal point of that particular team, and they ran it through you or in conjunction with you. And I don't necessarily see that that's what has happened in the Phoenix Suns situation. I think Monty did a poor job with connecting with him. I do believe that DeAndre Ayton had his own issues. He had his own, struggling with his own identity and figuring himself out in the league and stuff like that. I don't know why it just did that, but it did it. Anyway, I think he had his own thing he was figuring out as a young man who probably expected to be more of a focal point of the offense, not understanding that Book might be considered a generational talent. But at the same time, I also see where the organization failed him. So I'm not going to sit there. For anyone who's new to this channel, if you haven't been watching me on the breeze, I'm never 100% pro player, and I'm never going to be 100% pro team, owner, management, things of that nature. I'm very even keel. I'm a realist before anything, and that's what I expect here. If like I'm gonna just keep it real. There was opportunity for Ayton to be better, be a better professional, be a better player, show up differently. But there was opportunity for that organization to do better by him, and I do stand on that. And I do stand on coaching being a big part of that. And because my team has been going through something like that seriously, I identify it very quickly when I see it in other organizations, because we see what it's looked like, and we've seen how that's almost impacted and completely changed people's careers. In fact, Lauri Markkanen is one player that always comes to mind when I think about it. His career would have looked totally different had he had not gotten out of Chicago, because the management at the time, the coaching at the time, was so horrific that we took a player who was 18-10, 18-8 his rookie season. I mean, it's freaking good rookie season. And, even though, he had some injury himself, he played most of the season. We didn't develop well, went away from him and stuff like that. Lauri Markkanen's career could have went off a cliff if it wasn't for the resurgence he just had at Utah. Like, if he went over there and was mid, no one would be talking about him. But he went over there and became an all-star after bouncing around. That's what a good team, good management, people who put you in the best position, they play him at the 3. He was being played at the 4 in Chicago. A lot of that stuff happens. And again, long way of saying organizations play a big part in the player's success, coaching, all that, because of the positions they put them in and how they utilize them. And if you listen to my last video about the Sixers, you will see that I said the same thing about Tobias Harris. Don't get mad at the $40 million. Get mad at how they're utilizing them, because the stats show you that when given the opportunity and given the same volume of shots as people who make $40 million, Tobias Harris can do it. So don't get mad at how much he gets paid or how stuff like that, or them expecting to do X, Y, Z. Don't get mad at the expectation. Get mad at the utilization. But I want to hear your thoughts, man. I want to hear what you think about Ayton. I want to hear what you think about Bol Bol. Was it overrated? Was it reach? Talk about the Phoenix Suns as a whole. Where you got them ranked in the West, man? Let's get into it. Let's see what's happening right now, man. Let's get back into this daily content. Whether it's love, whether it's hate, put it in the chat, man. I'll be in there with you. Till next time. Peace.